Welcome to Talks with the Invisible Gardener. I'm Andy Lopez, your host. This is where we dig into soil health and learn how to grow smarter organically. Ready to clean up your garden and the planet? Let's go. Don't panic, it's organic. Hello, everybody. This is Andy Lopez, the Invisible Gardener. Guess what we're doing today? We're going to be talking about how to properly care for your earthworm farm. I don't know if any of you know who I am, but as the Invisible Gardener, I started, one of the very first things I learned to do was have a worm farm. Don't ask me how I got into it. Maybe because in my guided garden, right, it was always worms. And I learned when I started my business that property didn't have worms in the soil, there's something wrong. So I figured, okay, worms must be the magical creatures. And so I started doing worms a long, long time ago. And there are many reasons you would want to have. I can tell you what my reasons are for having a worm farm, because as a kid, and I was very good gardening. I gardened on my parents' properties, property, just one property. And it was so good. People will walk by. What are you doing there? And I said, I'm taking care of my garden. Why don't you come over and take care of my garden too? So I was already kind of doing that. By the ninth grade, I had quite a bit of customers just in the neighborhood, you know. I actually I didn't, at that young age, I didn't really have an earthworm farm. I was mainly concentrating on making the worms grow. I remember I saw a sign that said, worms for sale, and they were selling them for fishing, right? So I said, can I get some of your worms? And I said, oh, you fish? No, I don't fish. I'm putting them in my garden. And I could tell long stories about what happens when you lay worms out loose in your garden. They usually don't last very long. But I've learned that would be what I need to do, is to encourage the earthworm population. And that was my whole gig. And so I didn't really have the ability to have a worm farm until I got out of the service in 1970, because I went in the Navy when I was young. And so what I'll talk to you about is what I do, okay, and how I set it up, and my reasoning for having a worm farm, because I do a business. So if you want to have a business, you want to have a unique product that will bring the soil back to life, feeds your plants, right? And everybody would want you because you want beautiful roses, they would say, what is it you're doing? And so if you want to do that, listen up, take notes if you want to. I'm going to be holding workshops on it all the time. And because the better you get at this, there's two things you really have to become good at: making the best compost in the world and having the best earthworm farm in the world. Okay, so this is a cattle trough. This is my latest version, because when I started doing them earlier in Florida, I didn't really use the cattle trough. I basically had big raised beds specifically for worms. People say, what are you doing? What are you growing here? What vegetable are you growing in this garden? I said, I'm not growing anything, but I have worms. And the worms had a liner, and the liquid will fall down into a tray. So it was a big worm bin. And this is my commercial version of it, is the cattle trough. And so this is and it has gone through many generations. You'll see down the road how it has changed. And so this is about 2 feet wide, 6 feet long, and 4 feet high. And normally, right there in the center of it, there's a little plug where you normally drain the water out. So I didn't want that. I wanted to drain. If you can look at it, you'll see it's higher in one end than the other one. And that's done on purpose. So what I did is I basically punched some holes in the left bottom there, tiny little holes. You're too big, the worms to get out, but it have to be tiny, tiny little hole, about 10 of them. And basically the idea is you have a worm farm there, and you pour liquid, clean, filtered water through the other end, or even slowly on top. It percolates through, right? Percolates through, because the worms need a bath. Okay, believe it or not, because normally they would grow in the ground. In the ground, Mother Nature gives them a bath. But in a container, if you didn't do that, they would die, because they'll be in their own toxic, in their own poop, right? So you want to give them a bath, and that first, this filtered water, which you want to get, for example, you want to also get a garden water filter. There's many of them on the market. There's a couple of them I recommend, and I'll put it in the comments. If you have some really interesting comments about what type of filter you use, water filter you use, let me know. And Essentially, the water percolates through, and if you look at the left lower bottom, you see that's an oil can. That's the use that you use that to catch when you're draining oil on your car, right? So I put that under there, and it would drip down and provide this liquid. And so there are many things that you can put into it, but as I say, you drill some holes and makes a tiny little holes, not too big. First time I made this, that they just worms just crawl right out through the hole. I had to get a screen to stop them, Uh, but ideally, you do want a screen anyway. It's just because they're tiny, teeny, weeny little guys when they first start. They go through there. By the way, this liquid is also rich with eggs, earthworm eggs. So if you start using it in your garden, you're also going to start seeing more and more worms showing up. And again, the idea is to have as many worms in your garden as you can. And so there are some tricks to how. Let me explain. Okay, so a lot of people think that there's two types of worm farming that people do. Okay, one of them is to take your garden waste, which all should be organic, and throw it in with the worms, and the worms will eat it. That's called vermiculture, and you're basically making the worms eat your vegetables and stuff, and you end up with this rich compost that you later use. Or you want to use it as a business. That's me, because I don't have. If you were to do it this way, by keep feeding it food and stuff, you really couldn't have liquid on a regular basis because it takes a long time for the food to really decompose. So what I do is what I feed my worms are things that they can eat right away. I feed them just enough so that the worms eat it. So I give you an example of, and also too, you want to imitate Mother Nature. That's why when you first start to build your worm farm, basically learn how to do them in layers, because in layers shows you what different. It's like when you're making compost, you have to layer it to really get the right proportion of things together in order to work. The same thing here. You want to have some type of green matter, some type of brown matter, some type of black matter, right? It's very important that they get carbon. So one of the sources of carbon that I use is shredded cardboard. They're recycled. The thing with shredded cardboard is you want to peel off any labels, any tapes, a tape that comes, if the box comes in taped up with something, those are no good. But the cardboard itself, totally safe. It will break down. If you shred it up, the worms are eat it right up. That's a good source of carbon for them. Another source of carbon is called biochar. You want to add that anyway. That'd be a little bit of biochar you put in there. Shredded newspaper is wonderful. Again, a source of carbon. Just don't use any newspaper that has shiny colors on it. Those shiny pages with color on it are heavy with lead. You just carefully dispose of that. You kill your worms if you do that. And then you want to, of course, get some soil. If you have some bad soil that's been, not working right, you can add that into it. You can just go buy some soil. You want to get some leaves, right? You want to get some green. If your property is organic, if your lawn is organic, and the leaves are falling in organic, then you want to add that. You can add certain things from your kitchen. Again, you have to be careful. Remember, you're going to be. That's the things you add from the kitchen are things that you not necessarily a layer of. Because when you first start worms, you don't want to start feeding them. There's no really worms in there. So when you do your first layer, you want to order some worms, and there are many different types of worms that you can get on the market. I myself, I have two preferences. African red wigglers are giant worms, right? Giant. They go through they can really eat stuff. And the European red wigglers are a little smaller guys, but there's lots of them, and they will survive. You can mix the two. I don't know if you can want them to fight it out or be friends or not. But the you want to. I got mine from Amazon. It's easy to do, and it depends on where in the world, where in the United States you live in, what type of worms you can get. But once you have those layers done, then you do want to get some worms, and you want to start off with small amounts, say 10,000 worm shoots. I bought 10,000 worms. So I got 5 packages of 2,000 worms each. And I got them from Amazon. It depends again what time of year, what's going on in the countries that they sell these at. Like now with the imports, it may cost you more. With the tariff imports, it may cost you more. So you may want to fix the local earthworms. So what I would do is see wherever city you're in, find a garden, organic gardening, and go visit there and say, I need some earthworms. I'm sure you'll find lots of people will give you worms for that area. There's also, you can go out looking for worms. You live in a forest and see what worms are there. Fishermen will tell you what worms are around. You always want to try what worms are in the neighborhood. I do another show. It's all about the biology where they live in Canada. And it's you don't find worms too much running around outside because it freezes. When you have a worm farm, you have to do it protected from the sun. So that covers a little bit of it, but let me get into more details about feeding, because remember, we're doing this because we want the worm juice. We want happy worms, and the more worms you have, the more often you have to give them a bath, the more liquid you'll have. And I can tell you how to make that liquid the most amazing product you've ever seen in your life for your plants, so you can sell it. But when I tell people, when I go shopping, I buy one banana or one apple. I mean, they love bananas, they love apples, they'll go through tomatoes. They don't like things like garlic and onions, right? They don't eat meat. They love organic coffee. Avocado, they love it. They don't do very well with the avocado seed, even though what happens, the avocado seed almost always starts to sprout. Maybe you can grow the avocados, little plants. That's what I'm trying to do now. But they love avocados soft, right? They'll go through that, any of those soft stuff. They love grapes. I said, I always buy banana. And the guy said, man, you like lots of bananas. I go, well, one's for me, these other for the worms. Oh, okay. And you don't let it rot. You give it to organic bananas, please, right? You give it to them. And so they love grapes, organic grapes, strawberries. They love organic strawberries. They will even eat your organic lettuce, right? So you buy it, you specifically are growing, feeding the worms what they want, taking care of them, and producing more and more worms. They double on a regular basis. Before you know, like right now, I probably have a couple 100,000 worms in that worm farm. Too many worms in one space. So I have to get another kettle trough, just like that one, double it. Take half of these worms off, put it in the other. But first, I'll make the layers. And then I'll take half of these worms, put it over there, and let them go nuts. And they will go nuts on this side too. Isn't that cool? So, and that's not easy by itself, okay? That is a trick that you have to learn. And I'm available. I'm getting together some online workshops. Plus, if you go to invisiblegarden.com, you can sign up for my newsletter. I'm always available to virtually guide you. I just talked to somebody else who wants to do worm farm somewhere else, in actually Northern California. So there's a lot to it. And here I am with one of my earlier different version. That poor worm farm moved a couple of times that year. So that's what, and you can't let the worm, they'll dry there. So if you don't do anything for them, they will die, right? You just dump stuff in there and give them food, they'll die because they need water. They'll dry out very fast. And so there's several reasons why you water them. Too much water, they die, they drown. Not enough water, they dry out, and they get, right? So you want to give them a little bath, keep them, you have to, you don't, these are metal, so it should be in the shade. What I do is I put insulation around it because you don't want the sun cooking them. There are other things, though, that you have to do to make sure these worms survive. And that's a trick by itself. And I'm happy to help you with that. So make sure you use filtered water. That same juice, you can see right there what happens when it gets full. And if you look under a microscope, you're going to see that it's full of biology and it's full of earthworm eggs. And to that mixture, I've been doing this for 37,000 years now. I add things that I buy, which I add to them. And nowadays, it's really so cool because there's more and more of these wonderful biological products available now than ever before. One of my favorite places to go is called Acres USA. Old farmers, good old boys, organic garden farmers. And they have all kinds of things that they make, from compost, big plants, big 500 gallons, 1,000 gallons, 15 gallons of compost sprayer, right? They make compost by the billions of tons. And they have all kinds of magical sprays that they invent. So check them out. But for your own use, this is absolutely amazing, and your plants will definitely love it. And you're going to get more and more earthworms popping up on your property, okay? And so I have a whole series of things coming up for you guys. It's really exciting. If you like it, just click on the like button there for me. Share it with other people. And of course, follow me. If you go to my website, sign up for my newsletter, right? Go into my newsletter. Lots of things that I'm doing, not just with worm farms. I'm covering, I'm updating my book. The website's constantly being updated. Online workshops, tons of things happening all the time. But the main thing I'm here for is answer your questions. So if you go online, sign up for the newsletter. Once you get the newsletter, there's a button to say email Andy, and open it up, and it'll have the subject. You can write your subject in there, click on it, and it goes directly to me in a box. It's a special box, because if you was to email me now, you will be there with the other 38,000. I'm not kidding you, 38,000 emails, and most of them are junk. And it takes me forever to find you. And I after a while, I just hit delete because it says too many of them to do. So that's why newsletter, click on the email, it goes special to me, and it bypasses all that. And I'm happy to talk to you, help you have the best garden you've ever had. So I think that's it for today, guys. And I'll be back next week helping you have an amazing garden. It's been great. I'm Andy Lopez. Thanks for hanging out with me on Talks with the Invisible Gardener. If you like what you heard, hit follow, drop a like, and leave a comment. I actually read them. Want more good dirt? Visit invisiblegardener.com. And remember, don't panic, it's organic.